Hello fellow guitar geeks, I'm going to be building this, the Ghost Drive Rare Pedal Kit from StewMac. In this video, I'm going to build the pedal and review the build process, so test the instruction guide and see how good it is and how hard the pedal is to build as a non-pedal builder, just a guitar geek enthusiast. Then I'm going to test the pedal itself and review the pedal as if someone had sent it to me or if I'd bought it. So a double review video for you. It says on the box that it's based on the original 𝗚𝗏𝗡𝗡𝗅 Overdrive, which I'm taking to mean the KLON, of course. Let's have a look what's inside the box. A full-colour, step-by-step instruction guide. Funky stickers for the enclosure. And all the parts you need to build your own KLON. So, let's get my tools together and start making a pedal. The first thing I'm going to do is get the enclosure and stickers and put that to one side, because I don't want to get solder over this or damage this in any way. We don't need it yet. Some of the tools are obvious, like the soldering iron and the wire cutters and the long nose pliers and the fine gauge wire strippers, but you also need some wrenches or spanners to tighten up the nuts and a PCB holder. I don't think that's necessary, but it does come in useful. Let's look at the parts list. Now things are getting interesting. I've got these wonderful bags of stuff here. So there's the circuit board, just there. Then parts, screws for the box, so we can put that to one side. And then physical stuff, so switches and knobs. We can probably put that to the side, but fairly close to ourselves. StewMac have really gone all out on this instruction manual because they're not just showing you how to put the pedal together, they also show you what the things do and how to understand them. So all the different components are listed here and they tell you how they're affecting your sound. That's just interesting. And I recommend that you read that at some point, even if it's just for some, some light reading. But I'm going to skip straight to building the pedal. There's the board, which we have here, and I highly recommend that you don't try and tear this with your fingers. I recommend you use a knife, because if you try and tear it with your fingers, you could sort of bend the board, which could break it. There we have it, and it's actually two boards, as you can probably see. We've got this breakout board and the main PCB. It's time to start populating the board. I'm on page 15 of the instruction manual. A little tip is you're definitely going to need a magnifying glass or one of these cool headgear things because I couldn't see which diode was which. So now I'm onto this bag of components, and there's a tip in the manual that says it's a great idea to check your resistors with a multimeter. I'll show you what I mean. It is just the simple task of measuring every resistor with your multimeter, sticking it to a piece of paper and writing the value next to it. Then when it comes to putting it onto the board and soldering, you don't have to go searching around with your magnifying glass or weird headgear for the correct resistor. It will save time, I promise. Sorry about the afro and the overhead camera, by the way. That's going to happen a lot in this video. Even more resistors. There are quite a few of them in a KLON style circuit, and I guarantee you're going to be happy that you've stuck them all to a piece of paper in an orderly fashion. That is page 17 finished, populated and soldered. It's easy to follow, super easy. Like, they've done everything for you apart from put it together. The guide is absolutely fantastic. However, it is stressful. I'm finding it stressful. I'm enjoying it, but it's also stressful, and I'm not used to focusing so much on such a small thing. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm still excited. I've gone past the focusing, I'm now back into excited, which is dangerous. I need to focus. Page 18. So many resistors. I am very happy that I organised these on my sheets of paper earlier. I don't want to be looking at coloured bars for hours of my life. I feel a sense of achievement. I feel like all the resistors are done, and I've done something. I'm at the next level. Capacitors. Get rid of my resistor sheets. Unlike with resistors, capacitors need to be installed in the correct orientation so that the current can flow through them. Thankfully, the manual is very clear on this, and so is the circuit board, so you should not have any problems getting them in the right way. It's starting to look like a pedal inside gut shot thing. I forgot to say that if you ever do this, make sure you have a window open and door open and fan running. I have a fan down there that's extracting air out the window, and it's on whenever I'm not talking. Please make sure you do that. There's fumes. I've just noticed that I've made a mistake. I've made a mistake with one of the resistors. There should be a resistor here, according to the diagram, and there should not be one here. but I've put one here. Yeah, that's definitely wrong. I've put a resistor where I should have put a capacitor, and I've been confused by the fact that one says 27 and one says 27N. My mistake, totally. I'm going to have to remove that resistor and hope it survives, and then put it in the place it should be. I've managed to get the resistor out, and it's not damaged. I put it through the multimeter. It works still, and I don't think I've damaged the board either. So far, I've done nothing that I can't repair, thankfully. Next to the IC sockets, which are the things that I've been looking forward to most. These are the things that make me think it's a real pedal. It's actually doing something. It's a chip. I have to do it by hand without holding it on, because that is hard to do. Just like the capacitors, the IC sockets and chips need to be installed with the correct orientation. Again, the manual is super clear on this. Make sure you read everything and check the diagrams twice before you actually solder anything in. So, with the board finished, I can now move on to the pots and the LED and all the rest of it that's in the remaining bag. It's starting to look like a pedal, and I'm super excited. Next thing is the lead wire, and the kit comes with 24 inches of this red lead wire. I need to cut that into 6 2-inch sections and 6 1-inch sections. And I am actually going to measure it because my memory of inches is not great, having lived in Europe for quite a long time. These lead wires are going to connect the PCB to the breakout board with the foot switch on it. It's also going to connect the PCB to the input and output sockets and the 9-volt socket. So we've got to make sure that these connections are super strong and stable. Right, I'm having an issue with this breakout board because I'm not exactly sure which way it should go round. It says this side down on the board just there, and switch goes here. So I'm guessing it's that way because the switch has to be that side. But it's not exactly clear. And now, according to the manual, the page 25 and the diagrams and the writing, you've got to put these through the 6 holes and then tape them there. Let's try that. Getting these lead wires in the holes of the breakout board is extremely difficult for me, so I had to go and get myself a pair of tweezers. I'm actually going to solder them on like this. It says to tape them up first, but I'm not doing that. Right, it's on, all the connections are good, but that is the toughest thing I've done in this whole build. It says in the manual that you can use the enclosure to hold the pots as you're soldering, but as you can probably see, I've taped mine up to protect it so I don't scratch it while I'm putting the stuff together. I don't know if you want to do that, but that seemed like a good idea to me, because I'm not going to be spraying this yet. Output, treble, gain. This is a little bit fiddly. I would recommend doing the gain pot first, making sure all 6 pins are correctly through the board, and then add the volume and the treble. There we go. Oh, wowee, we've got pots on our board. Foot switch time, baby. This is the part where the pedal is really going to take shape, because we're adding the foot switch, we're adding the LED holder and the LED, we're soldering the 9-volt battery clip to the board, putting the board in the enclosure, and screwing the nuts onto the pots. The manual then says to add the knobs to the pots. I would have done that later, but who am I to argue with the manual? Then it's time to solder the breakout board to the foot switch, and insert the power socket, solder it to the board and to the 9-volt battery clip. Next up are the input and output sockets. The stereo one is for the input, so that when you disconnect your jack cables, it disconnects the battery from the circuit and doesn't empty the battery while you're not using the pedal. And finally, confident I've done a good job, I screw the backplate to the enclosure, add the stickers, and I'm done. Moment of truth, just like any other pedal, it is on my desk, ready to plug in. Let's go for the input first. Let's go for power. Let's go for output. I am quite nervous. Is the light going to come on? It works. Right. Power that amp on. And let's make some noise. I've got this going through the Fender Deluxe Reverb that you can't see because the pedal's on screen. Just there, look. And then some vintage V30s from Celestion. Let's do the clean tone. See if the pedal works. Might want to try turning the output up, Andy. I thought I had built a pedal that didn't work. So far, so good. Okay, a bit dark. Let's put the treble up. So far, nothing noisy. No scratchy pots or anything. It's boosting a little bit. It's a little bit warmer in the mids as well. Let's see what happens. I hope that gain works. It works. I'm going to explore, obviously, the rest of the pedal in a second. Let me just get tidied up because there are tools everywhere. I'll be back. It'll be instantaneous for you. I told you, see? But I'm back with a different guitar, the Schecter Nick Johnston. The 66 needs a little bit of a setup, so if I'm going to demo this pedal, it should be with the best guitar that I can currently find without getting out of my chair. Now, let's hear the clean tone with this now. Let's put the Ghost Drive on. In fact, most people use their Klons like this between about 12 and 1 o'clock. So let's just try the standard Klon boost. It's a little bit louder on, so I prefer it on. Let's now fiddle with the gain. Let's do half gain. More gain, please. Needs to be brought down with output a little bit. Maximum gain. Starting to introduce some noise now. That's a gain pedal, maybe a little bit too trebly for my liking now. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm biased, obviously, because there's a lot of me in that pedal, a lot of my time, a lot of my hours, and whether you like it or not is up to you. I think it does a good Klon. I've never played a Klon, but I've played handfuls, bucketfuls of Klon clones, and that certainly stacks up amongst stacks up. There's a gain joke for you. That certainly stacks up against a lot of them. That boost alone is beautiful with the gain all the way down. And I know a lot of people like to use Klons that way. Now that you've heard it and we've proved that it works and it sounds, in my very biased opinion, fantastic, we should really talk about how easy it was or how difficult it was to build the pedal itself. That's really what this video is about, right? Because if you just wanted to buy a Klon style pedal, you should probably just buy a Klon style pedal, like a, I don't know, a 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 or a 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 or one of those Horseman really cheap ones from 𝗬𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. The thing is, this is an experience that you're buying. It's the finished product, so the pedal, the fact that it works and everything looks cool and sounds good is great and to be expected, but you're paying here for the experience of building your own pedal, of going into the nitty-gritty, maybe learning something, maybe improving your soldering skills, which I definitely need to do. And that's the main reason for buying this kit, not to just have a pedal. If you want a pedal, buy a pedal. I mean, no one buys a finished Lego kit and puts it on the shelf. You put your finished Lego kit that you built yourself on the shelf to show that you've achieved it and you have the pride in building it. I don't even know if you can buy pre-built Lego kits, but that's probably a subject for another video. Let's talk about the Ghost Drive a little bit more. Firstly, the kit came with all the parts necessary to build the pedal. It would be a fail if there were any parts missing, any parts broken, or any parts that just didn't work. So far, in the pedal, everything works and everything was there. Regarding the tools in the user guide, or the build guide, not everything that I needed to use was listed at the beginning. Here are all the tools that I used in the build of the Ghost Drive. And almost all the tools I needed were listed in the user manual under either required or recommended tools. Almost all. The one tool that they have under recommended, which was required for me, is this visor, which is basically 2 magnifying glasses stuck on a very cool headband. And if you're going to do this build, I recommend you buy something like this. If you don't have something like this or a magnifying glass, you can also use your phone on camera mode to zoom in on the parts numbers. Thank you to my friend Jens for teaching this to me one time whilst we were at Gear Street. Yeah, the parts numbers on the parts, because they're small, the parts numbers are small. Logical, right? So I think one of these is actually necessary, or some sort of eyesight device. These were not in the list of tools, and I needed 2 tiny ones to put the knobs on, and one was actually bigger than the other, so I needed 2 of them, one metric, one imperial. This is not listed in the recommended or required tools list. It should be. I also used these rocket sockets, which are not from StewMac, but I will list them in the video description. They were for tightening the nuts of all the sockets. Very, very useful when pedal building. And finally, I would recommend some tweezers, because with those lead wires, I couldn't get my fingers in there. So I think that's actually a required tool. I say finally, but there's one thing at the beginning of the video that I made a mistake with. I said that the PCB holder was probably not necessary. And I think it's necessary. I have one of these that I made from this. It's a steel bar with a magnetic clip on there, and then some movable arms with some crocodile clips in the end. I broke this several times, and I will absolutely be getting my hands on a proper PCB holder for any future builds that I do. Although maybe not in time for the next build I'm doing. Wink wink to future video. So the required tools list was almost complete, it was just missing the hex keys. Let's talk about the instruction guide. This is the best pedal building instruction guide I've ever read. It was super easy to follow. When I had questions, I just found that I'd spent too long around a soldering iron and just needed to take a little break and come back to it, and it was very, very clear. I'm not a pedal builder, I'm just a guitar enthusiast, as I said. But I do love the little bits at the beginning of the book where it explains everything that the parts are doing to your tone. I think that's interesting at the very, very least. And then it's got all sorts of tips in there, and to follow as a guide, very, very easy to follow. Thank you, StewMac. Oh, it's also got a notes section at the end so you can make your own notes. I love that there are stickers with this pedal. It is a big bonus for making it look professional and the complete kit, I guess, because many kits that I've bought in the past, and not always finished, have come with just the silver enclosure. You have to paint everything yourself, and then there are no labels or anything, so you write them on with a magic marker or go to the trouble of screen printing something. And I love that with this kit you have something instantly that looks professional. And if you were, I don't know, if you were buying this pedal to sell to someone or to give it as a gift, it would look really cool with everything out of the box. You don't need to do anything extra. But I would definitely take those parts out of the enclosure and put some clear lacquer over the stickers if I was to use this pedal regularly at gigs. You never know if you might lose a sticker, and that would be terrible. Actually, I forgot a tool that I used, and that was a fan which was blowing the fumes out of the window as I was soldering. Solder is not a nice thing to get in your lungs and into your body, so you definitely want to be doing this kit build in an open space, not in some under-the-stairs cupboard like Harry Potter, the pedal building wizard, and inhale all these fumes. So crack a window, probably get a fan and blow that nasty stuff out into the atmosphere. From start to finish, the project took me about 4.5 hours, and that's including changing camera angles and checking the screens to making sure the camera was mostly in focus and I was saying the right thing and talking to you guys during the video. If I wasn't making a video, which I guess if you're building a pedal, most people wouldn't be, I probably could have done it in 3 hours, maybe. But it was 3 hours with a couple of breaks and definitely some fresh air and cups of coffee breaks, but not too much coffee because you don't want that soldering hand shaking. But the whole experience was an enjoyable one. If the pedal hadn't worked at the end, I probably would have been upset and would have had to fault find and maybe I just screwed the whole thing up. But even with a broken pedal, I still had fun and I still learned something. So the whole kit building experience is something I will definitely do again. And why not build some more pedals on the channel? I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you want more pedal building videos, I will do them because I had an absolute blast making this ghost drive. Ultimately, this is another thing you can do as a guitar player that will further your knowledge and further your love for the instrument. And every time I play through this ghost drive, I'm going to think about the sweat and tears and the mistakes that I made and the joy that I had when I first pressed that button and the LED came on. So I think that alone is worth the price of the pedal kit. Even though StewMac sent this kit to me and asked me to make a video, I didn't buy the pedal kit. But I might buy some more from them, and I have bought other pedal kits from other people, so I will be doing more in the future, and they won't all be sponsored videos. This was fun. That is it, my beauties. I will bring the ghost drive to you in some other videos in the future. You'll hear it all over my channel because I'm very, very proud of what I did. The end of the video means it's the end of the video club, and to prove that you are a member of this prestigious elite, when you leave a comment telling me all about your thoughts on this video, please include the phrase, "Who you gonna call?" StewMac. And that'll make me chuckle looking at all those comments, and YouTube will like it because there's more engagement with the video. You know, that's obviously the reason I do this, not for the fun. Who would want to have fun in their life? Right, if you need information for anything I've used in this video, it's in the video description. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even learned something. Also, thanks to StewMac for sponsoring this and sending out the kit. There's more videos over there. There's a subscribe button down there. I'll be here waiting for you next time. See you later. Bye.